Hey everyone, my name is Guru Joypad, and this is the GOG.com podcast, also known as the GOGCast. Now, don't forget that you can check out all your GOG.com related information by typing in GOGCOM into all your social media outlets. That's basically all of them. So you got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the rest of the SoundCloud as well. Don't forget you check out SoundCloud for the previous episodes, previous audio-only version episodes of the GOGcast, and also YouTube as well for your latest game trailers and also all your video on demands of the GOGcast. Also, right, that's my intro spiel out of the way. Let's have a quick introduction from our guest. So, joining me around the digital table this evening is the man who is an upper crust above everybody else. It's the Mega Pie Man PhD.
Hey, what's up?
RIP headphone users. Sorry about that.
Sorry, was that really loud? I didn't mean to.
No, it's no louder than normal. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Sporting her new fashionable hairdo on her bonce, it's our glorious, fearless, and immortal deathless leader. It's Outstar Walker.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you.
You kind of had your pinky fingers in the wrong place there, so it just looked like you were pointing your index fingers to the sky.
Okay.
You were close. You were so close. So close. And the mistress of camera angles herself, Piran Jade.
Hello, everybody. I don't know what's wrong with my camera. You can see like baby toys on the floor behind me, and I want to fix that.
That's because you have children. It's there's nothing wrong with that. Don't try to like hide the images away. You know, embrace it. And also joining us this evening. From possibly one of the best named companies I have ever encountered. We have Samuel Costa from Butterscotch Shenanigans. I just want to say Butterscotch Shenanigans a lot. I just want to keep saying that, to be perfectly honest.
What are butterscotch shenanigans? I mean, I like butterscotch, but I don't know what kind of shenanigans they get up to.
Well, apparently in this case, we just make a bunch of goofy games. That's what the shenanigans part is, I guess.
Guys, you're all wrong. It's not Butterscotch Shenanigans. It's Butterscotch Shenanigans.
Hey,
Shenanigans.
yeah. Paid good money for that jingle. It's a good commercial
great.
jingle.
Yeah, we now owe them money. You understand that, right? they have that stuff completely copywritten. That's it. This is completely getting taken off Twitch, YouTube. We're getting banned, all of it, just because of that.
Strike it from everywhere. DMCA takedowns galore.
Absolutely. But yes, Samuel, he's the co-founder, lead artist, and story writer of Butterscotch Shenanigans. So, you currently have a game out on GOG.com called Crashlands, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about it, if that's all right.
Sure. Yeah, Crashlands was a 2-year project for us, and it's a massive action RPG adventure that uses crafting as basically the RPG components. So you level up and get new gear and all that stuff by running around, breaking trees, punching animals, stealing their parts, and turning them into weaponry and such. It also tells about a 50,000 word story over the whole thing, which is pretty silly story that people have dug into quite a bit. So it's a big game. It's a lot of fun, and if you got like a sort of survival crafting itch, but minus maybe the survival part because there's none of that in there. It's a good one. It's a good one for that.
Excellent stuff. Right, I'm going to roll straight in. Before we start asking any questions, I'm going to roll straight into the trailer. Now, normally what would happen is we'd have the trailer running in the background whilst you gave us like the elevator pitch of the actual game. That's not going to happen today because I watched the trailer and it's really, really good. So I'm going to mute everyone. Don't worry if you're listening to the audio-only version, I'll cut this bit out so it makes absolutely no contextual sense to you. And video-only people will be able to see the video as well. But here is your trailer.
Butterscotch Shenanigans. Crashlands. If you like words and reading them, then prepare to experience the story of a lifetime. There's a bad guy, a bunch of quest givers, and you in your purple spacesuit slapping everything with your thumbless hands. Finger painting was never going to be relevant, your mother always told you. Show her she was wrong as you rub your magnificent home into existence with a build mode so convenient you'll have time to give her a call. Crashlands! With so many things to carry, you'll spend joyous hours digging through your bags and moving things around. Shut up! No, you won't! Your infinite inventory manages itself. Defeat local wildlife to acquire their parts for your crafting, and then turn their own parts against them. Sew their skin into armor, grind their bones into weaponry, and turn their babies against their former brethren. Fight, Whoppage! Fight for your new mother's enjoyment! Set it and forget it like an infomercial actor with our oven-like workstations that bake items while you explore. Make a chair, make a lamp, make a stem cell baby you can suck the life out of to replenish your youthful flesh. With over 27 recipes to craft, there's something for everyone. Make bathroom breaks a thing of the past with Crashlands cross-platforminess. Share your save from PC to mobile and take your gaming on the road, or the toilet, or both. So what are you waiting for? Get Crashlands on everything today and tell your family you'll never see them again.
Crashlands, full of cross-platforminess. That was a really, really cool trailer. There's just so much. There's such a weird sense of humor about the whole sort of game. Is that sense of humor sort of carried on throughout the entire game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The story is ridiculous and has that sort of. There's lots of puns, I guess. You know, we sort of.
Yes, puns.
Yeah, we like to think that we. Our main form of currency is that sort of breathy chuckle that people do when like you see something funny on the internet, a funny picture, you're like, huh, huh. You know, that's our currency. That's how we operate. So
what
the
society
Reddit laugh
ran on a pun
Yeah.
currency? That would be amazing. No more money, just puns.
Just puns.
Yeah.
I offer
We'd be
you
kings.
2 puns for this loaf of bread, good sir.
2 original high quality puns.
Yep. I'm going to eat it all because it says whole meal on it. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Yeah, I've not played Crashlands. I kind of feel a little bit left out because I think everybody has played Crashlands, to be perfectly honest.
I have
can't
not.
remember. Oh, have you not? Ah, that's fine. I'm amongst friends then. Outside, was it yourself that did the release stream of it?
Yes, I did
Yes,
not only release the stream of it, I also did few additional streams because I
Oh,
got
did you?
really sunk in. Yeah, it was. I mean, people just. I have this tradition on my streams that always when I finish a game they play for a first time on stream, I say on the chat, guys, if you want to see this game again, just write banana. And there was just a pile of bananas thrown at me, like from every side, like just banana, banana. Because I was voice acting all the characters, and it was really fun. Basically,
You were voice acting everybody.
yeah, there's actually a meme that I have on my streams out of this game right now, and the meme is about the rarest craftable item in this game, Samuel, and I'm really mad that it's the rarest craftable item, which is called the fertile dirt.
Oh yes, fertile dirt.
Fertile dirt.
Why is it so rare, Samuel? Why?
You know, because if you could just straight up farm everything because you had infinite fertile dirt, there wouldn't be much challenge to it, you know? It's fertile, and it's fertile spelled F-U-R-D-L-E, and then dirt, D-U-R-T.
Fertile dirt.
Fertile dirt.
It's amazing. I absolutely love the game, and people were just pretty shocked because, to be honest, I didn't had super huge expectations before this game. Like that, I don't want to really start with comparing Crashlands to No Man's Sky, but it is kind of the idea that the chat got.
Wait a minute.
We didn't really have any big expectations out of Crashlands, and suddenly we got a wonderful game, and it was really, really amazingly fun to play. So I was crafting a lot. I actually evolved my little
Oh, you
worm
did?
pit. Yeah, I evolved
You
my
got
worm
to see
pit.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
What did you
cool.
think of the music?
I love the dubstep. It was very fitting, the whole game. And the chat was, everyone was just sipping tea. And, oh, yes, it's very fitting. No, not really. Everyone was just crazy about it. It was really fun. And I really like that whatever I really do in this game, the game is trying to just mash it in my face how awesome I am for doing those things, you know? When I craft a crafting station, there's suddenly a huge sprite of the station in front of my eyes with splashes, with the fanfares, with the music in the background, trumpets. Yes, you did it with the station. When I evolve my creature, it's not like just Pokemon, you know, some little flashing lights and then the Pokemon is evolved. No, there's actually dubstep to it. Like, how awesome can it get? It's amazing. I love the game. We actually, I can tell you that, Samuel, we have this tradition in the stream team that when people are very much into games, we create a special group on Skype so we can discuss that specific game. And so far, it only happened with 3 games. It happened with Unreal Tournament 2004, Stardew Valley, Pokemon Go, and now it happened with Crashlands. We actually
that's good company.
We actually have a group for Crashlands where we discuss who people found and what people found. It's really great. I love the game.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I think one of our favorite things about it was because we popped into the stream to hang out with you last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
On launch day, and it's always so fun seeing people who have not even heard a thing about it. Because as much as we try to do marketing and stuff, we're still an indie studio, so our reach is limited, to say the least. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite of a No Man's Sky situation where people are like, "What's this? It kind of looks like Don't Starve," and then they play it and they're like, "Oh God, this is ridiculous! What did I do?"
I was going to say it does have a very Don't Starve-y kind of look to it with its camera placement and the way its characters interact with the world.
Yeah,
I did think that.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because the other sort of thing we ran into there was as far as creating a game that is a crafting game, along with sharing that particular camera angle. With Don't Starve immediately brings Don't Starve to mind when people play it. When in reality, there's no survival elements. You're not dying unless you're getting killed actively by something in the game, and so it plays completely differently from something like Don't Starve, and it's also just so buoyant with a lot of joy and puns and all this other silly stuff going on, dubstep mixed in there for good measure, that it plays completely different. But we had such a hard time, honestly, during a lot of the dev cycle and just communicating that to people that it was not a game of that type, I guess, if that makes sense. So
I guess it's more important. It's more of a don't crash instead of a don't starve.
You could say that. Yeah.
You actually crashed though at the beginning, but
Yeah.
I have a question, because from playing this game, I kind of took it like I could compare it with some games I played in the past, like a little bit of Starbound, I guess, because you can build some tiles and stuff. A little bit of Stardew Valley because there's fertile dirt. A little bit of Don't Starve, but no survival. So I was actually thinking, were you guys, playing those games in the past and thought, hey guys, what if we make a game like all of these games but not annoying? Because yeah.
Absolutely. No, the not annoying part was the big thing. So all of us have played a lot of Terraria, and a bit, some Don't Starve. All of us actually don't particularly like playing Don't Starve because the stress mounts too high.
It does. It does.
It just you're constantly fighting to stay alive, and in the case of Terraria, managing your inventory it's just such a demanding part of the game. That it was very frustrating, and so we wanted to make a crafting game that somehow got rid of that particular aspect of crafting games. Because usually you're carrying around, 3 donkey carts worth of materials or reorganizing them, forgetting where your stuff is. So we built that infinite inventory. So yeah, we tried to take the things from the crafting genre and from some of these exploration genres that we really, really liked, and then just remove everything else.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
The lack of inventory management, everybody's been really, really happy about that. We actually got a tweet from someone when No Man's Sky came out, and they're like, "Man, I really wish No Man's Sky had the Crashlands inventory management right about now." You think of every couple of minutes they got to dump stuff out of their bag, and
oh no, which
some
precious
games,
material am I going to get rid of?
Yeah.
Some games can do some interesting stuff with inventory management, how with like Deus Ex Human Revolution, you have to move your inventory around and everything, and the inventory is a different size. You have to try to play Tetris with your inventory to make it all fit. It's cool for like the first time you're doing it, but the 100th time I'm just leaving everything behind. If it takes more than 3 blocks, I'm not picking it up.
Yeah, it's gone. It's out.
Yeah, especially in games. Go ahead.
It's like the coolest stuff is always the most pain in the butt stuff to carry around. So having an inventory just means you can get to all of the cool stuff that much quicker.
Yeah, well, it poses some other additional weird problems from a dev standpoint, because people, interestingly, they always want to see their whole inventory. You want to see everything that you have. And we decided, kind of controversially to our early players, you can't actually see your entire inventory. You can't just like open your bag to look. And the reason being that what we found is that if you have the power to do so, then when you're out exploring and doing combat and stuff, you very frequently actually open up your bag just to look and see, oh, how many fertile dirts have I collected so far? You know, that sort of thing. And it kind of breaks that flow of just being out there running around, fighting crazy creatures and stuff. And so the whole game's been designed to be really slick to get you from being in sort of more of a crafting mode and a building mode, and then when you're out exploring, basically you can, almost in a limited sense, you can only explore, but it somehow makes that aspect of the game a bit better, in our opinion, than some of the other crafting titles out there.
How much unique stuff is there to craft?
Oh man,
That's a lot.
there's over 900 items. You can craft 500, and I think we launched with 520 items you can craft.
Wow.
Crap.
There might be more. I don't know. There's so many that it's kind of like, I guess the best answer is a lot or enough, perhaps. Yes, there's tons of walls and floors and that sort of thing if you're into base building, and then a bunch of weapons, armor, gadgets, trinkets, all that stuff.
Do you do the Minecraft route of letting people figure out what to make themselves, or do you actually give people like blueprints or whatnot?
It's done with blueprints. So as you're running around that world, when you blow up, say, a tree, then there's a chance that the tree itself will drop a recipe, which of course is pretty much the only nod to the fact that it's a video game that we really give.
It's very convenient that it would do that.
It is, right? So convenient.
It is actually often that you punch a tree and then you suddenly get a recipe for a pillow because, that's logic. So.
Right, so the way it works is that if the recipe contains an element that is dropped by a resource or a creature, then it's possible. It's like the pillows contain sawdust, right? And so therefore you can
of course they do.
Yes, you can get one of those recipes for that. But yeah, so the way the crafting works is rather than doing the sort of puzzle element like Minecraft does, you just know the recipes, you go out and find them, learn them to unlock them, and then it kind of works like I guess almost like the trailer says, kind of like a oven. So you come back to your base, you queue up a couple of items, and then they cook, essentially. They get built in your station, and they have some amount of time that they take, anywhere from like a second to a couple of minutes, actually, for the legendary items. And then so while your stuff is cooking, you spend some time rearranging your base, building some new stuff, maybe go back out if it's not like a combat critical thing, and then come back and pick up your goodies somewhere down the line.
You guys don't do anything like I would see someone doing this with a mobile game where you get a bunch of items, you put it into cook, and then you have to wait 5 days or buy 20 gems.
No. Well, that was talking about the difficulty with being compared to Don't Starve. So this game is on mobile, right? And we actually designed it with both PC and mobile launch in mind to do simultaneously, which we did. And it was so strange because we told everybody that we were doing it as a quote unquote a premium game on mobile. And as soon as people saw the timers, they had that exact terror was what we were confronted with every day, where they're like, so I saw how the stations works. Are you guys going to make us pay for like every minute that we want to reduce that? And we're like, no. I mean, yes, we could make infinite money.
God, no, who would do that?
Yeah, but we're not interested in that. That would
what
break
kind of
the point
horrible EA type of company would do that?
I know.
Certainly
Almost
not
every
one named
mobile
Butterscotch
game.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, I think, and the thing is, this one actually was successful on mobile as a premium game, and a lot of people have said. I mean, there's just an article in one of the big games industry websites where some guy was proclaiming that premium is dead on mobile. People have said that pretty much every month for the last 4 years or so.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, but this worked fine for us, and granted, we're a team of 3, so doesn't require a lot to keep us running, but it's very successful on there. So we're hoping for all of time to just pursue a premium only strategy across the board and not have to worry about timers and all that stupid nonsense.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool to hear. I've only heard of a couple of games that have sort of tried to release on both PC and mobile at the same time. Sproggywood was another game that had both PC and mobile at the exact same time. I don't know what other games you guys have made, but is there just like a different kind of thought process to making a game that you're going to release on both devices at about the same time so that it works for both devices?
Yeah, I mean, the design considerations come down to mainly to controls, and then also the question of how much in a game that's exploration based like Crashlands, and one that's top down, there's a really weird thing that happens with larger resolution size, which is that the player can see more, right? And so in a game that you play on PC, for example, where you have like a 1920 by 1080 resolution, we could actually make the world much more sparsely populated with resources because the player can see more stuff. But if you're playing on a mobile screen, which is say 940 by 720 or something like that, there's less space, and so the player always needs to be able to, from a design standpoint, always be able to chase after a glimpse of fertile dirt they have outside of the current screen or that sort of thing. So there's those sorts of considerations which are weird, but the biggest ones really come down to controls, because if you only have touch, that makes it hard to figure out how exactly to make a game that has more complex mechanical interactions and stuff like that, because you don't have a full keyboard and hotkeys and all that good stuff like you do on PC. So it's hard to make it simple enough that it works well on mobile while also not making that simplicity sort of cut out the complexity that's desired on the PC side.
I actually have
Cool.
one question about the game itself. And the game, the question is about something that there are a lot of legends and myths about, and also you guys made this sound really, really awesome in your description of the game. What about the size of the world in game? How big is it? Because I explored it a little bit, of course, but there's never seemed to be enough time to get to the border anywhere. Is there a border, and if so, how big it is?
Yeah, so we refer to it internally as effectively infinite. We put a boundary on it just because it takes you about, I think, 3 hours if you're going north and south, and 4 hours if you're going east and west to walk from the center of the map to the edge.
Constantly pressing S button, for example.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it's huge. Most of the quest content. So the game is interesting in that the worlds are generated procedurally, and there's actually 3 of those. So like you got to play just in the savannah because that's part of the story you're on. But there's also the bog, which is a sort of gross alien landscape, and then the tundra is the third biome, the final biome, which is a sort of icy, wonderful place. And most of the quest content takes place within about a 600 tile radius, so like a 15-minute from center walking zone. Everything else besides that is essentially just the fact that you're in this big world. So yeah, it's 3 infinities, which we then cut down to 3 of these 4-hour walks, and then as far as actual walking all the way across the general questing space, anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes maximum from the center of the map.
It's really awesome.
I love the fact you turned around and said it's like infinity times 3.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it was, and then we were thinking about it. We're like, should we put an end on this? Because like people will ask this question. They might want to get to the end, because some people do that. They're like, I want to walk west until I touch the edge for some reason. So we put an end on it mainly just so players would have something to do, I guess.
You just got to make it large enough that you can warp from one side to the other and nobody will notice.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Actually,
that way it's quote unquote infinite.
The question is there something special on the border? Like when you get the furthest away from the center, is this like, let's say No Man's Sky again, the closest you get to the center, the weirder it gets? Or what happens?
The closest estimation you can think of is when you think of Crashlands is, I'm thinking of Crashlands, therefore I'm going to think of No Man's Sky. I love the fact that we're all doing this now. We're all immediately making that logical leap.
Yeah, well, yeah, so No Man's Sky runs into a similar problem that we had to confront, which is like when you generate that much space, when you generate an infinity, how do you effectively fill it with interesting stuff, right? So our call was just to not generate an infinity. Their call is it went the other way. But yeah, when you get to the edge of the map, we brainstormed. You probably would have been very entertained by the ideas that we came up with for what we would do to players if they got to the edge of the map. But I think we ended up just going with nothing, because one of them was to start a creeping death that would just slowly eat across the map from west to east and just destroy everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because we could if we wanted to, but we didn't. So everybody's welcome.
That's for the hardcore mode update.
Yeah, right. Walk all the way west and then be eaten alive.
Mm-hmm. Nothing good ever comes from the west.
No.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions from chat at the moment.
Sure.
So I'm going to rattle through a couple of these ones. We had a question from Centeria who says, question for the Crashland devs. They say they're a team of 3 people, but the intro splash screen shows 6. Who are the other 3?
Yeah, well, funny you should mention that. So because of Crashlands, this is our first sort of largely successful game, actually. It was just me and my 2 brothers, which are the first 3 heads that you'll see on the splash screen now, who made Crashlands. And we launched this in January on PC and mobile, and then on GOG a couple weeks ago. And so because of the success of that, we decided to actually expand the studio. So now we are 6 people. So we have one additional person essentially for each of us. And that means slowly but surely, each of us we'll be able to make games faster and bigger and all that good stuff.
It means you now have lackeys. That's what it means.
Yeah.
It means you now all have minions.
You got people. You could call me up and be like, I'll tell my people to handle
this. Yeah.
It means they
I'm
now
not
have
doing
a
that.
guy to
I
go
got
get the
people for
coffee.
this.
It's your job. Oh, I get the
You
coffee.
go.
There you go.
Right, I got the coffee.
Oh, wonderful stuff. So, hopefully, Centenary, that answers your question. Pyrofox appears to have been asking a couple of questions in chat, but Outstar, I think, has been sniping his questions and asking them for us, so I'm just going to leave that there. Raging Mayo asks, so, what do you mean by a self-organizing inventory?
Yeah, so the general problem that you face in most crafting games is really that you want to pick up everything. Because you never know. Like maybe towards the end of the game they're going to be like, oh, that honeycomb you picked up in the first 8 minutes that you've neglected to pick up since is now necessary for everything. You have to go back and farm it. So what happens is if you break a tree open or you break a creature down, that's my euphemism for killing it.
Break a creature down. Just like snapping its bones over your knee and just putting the bits in your backpack. Yep, I like
so what happens is the components pop out and then they automatically just hoover up, and that way you don't run around and pick up items individually, right? So
it's like a chunky pinata.
Yeah, so pinata explodes, vacuums to you, and then all that loot essentially just goes into your bag. And there are various trackers in the game, so if you want to build a particular recipe, then you can set a tracker in your top right of your UI so you can keep track of the exact elements that are in there. But otherwise, you only see your inventory items basically when you need to see them, which is when you're back crafting. So if you're back home at your crafting station and you're looking at something that requires 10 pieces of leather and 20 bones, when you're looking at that, you'll be able to see exactly how many of those things you have. And so you end up you literally don't manage your inventory at all, I guess. You manage your equipment somewhat once you have quite a bit of it, if you have gadgets and potions and stuff to swap out on your hotbar. But other than that, there's pretty much zero inventory management in the game, which I'm pretty happy about.
Are you guys sure you wanted to make a crafting game? Because everything you're talking about just sounds way too convenient.
Oh, man. So, turns out, so this project we thought was going to take 3 months. And then we thought it would take like another 3 months from there. And then we've been making the joke that since
How many years ago was this?
Yeah, so since the middle of 2014, the game's been 2 months away from launch. Just constant. So the reality is, and I think the reason someone else was, I think Total Biscuit had a YouTube video yesterday, a couple days ago, talking about survival games and just crafting games in general. And the reality is that like they're really heavy lifting from a content standpoint on devs. So like we mentioned, the 500 something items in the game, 20 some creatures you have to fight. There's 12 boss fights. There's these 3 infinite biomes that each have somewhere between I think 15 and 30 resources. So there's just a lot of stuff that is required to make the game work. So we decided we wanted to make a crafting game, and I think about what we thought was, halfway through it, which was 3 months in, we were like, wow, this is much more involved than we anticipated. But we were sort of like too far, and also it felt good. Like the system felt good, so we were like, let's just, let's go for it and see what we can do.
Okay, excellent, cool.
I also have a question out of kind of personal interest.
So,
Oh, yeah?
The Brubus.
Yes.
A Brubus.
I wondered when this
Is
was
it-
coming.
Is it a penguin?
It is not a thing. So the Brubus they look kind of like penguins. They look kind of like a bubble owl is how we slangily refer to them during the story.
Bubble owls?
Bubble owls, yeah.
Okay.
They're weird bird-like, organically kind of gross-looking creatures. And the idea is that the bog, which is the second big environment in the game, is actually one living organism. And everything that grows on the bog is either spawned by the bog or like a parasite of it. And the Brubus are these creepy insectoid owl creatures that are spawned by the bog, and they're like the main NPCs and quest givers for that zone.
You made her so sad now.
I know.
It's okay.
Anyway.
There
Are you on to
can't. I'm an adult, and I know there can't be penguins everywhere.
There can't be penguins everywhere, but there can be penguins in some places. They're the ones you're going to hold on to.
Yeah.
You don't want to break down a penguin, really, do you? You don't want to introduce yourself by, smashing open a penguin like a piñata.
I actually have another question, which is kind of corresponds to my previous one, but it's really like measured for you, Samuel, because of the story writing. What I think really stands out in Crashlands in comparison to Terraria, Don't Starve, all those games you could compare them to, is actually the story, which is pretty captivating, and the characters have they're real. You can just talk with them. Even the main villain is super funny. I adore this guy. So I wanted to ask you how much of a story is there in the game, and how long does it take to progress through it? If you just ignore anything else, if you just try to get through the story.
Yeah, if you just did, so there's kind of like a mainline questing branch. So if you think like how Skyrim works, there's your mainline and then all the side stories. So if you just did mainline, I think when Seth playtested it before we launched, I think he finished the mainline in 36 hours or something.
Wow.
Just like going as fast as
That's
could.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's got somewhere between 40 and 60 hours of story if you do all of them. There's 3 sort of hidden side boss quests in each zone, and then just a bunch of ridiculous stories. So like one of the first ones you get is there's these creatures called wampets, which are kind of like camel hippo things that jump on you. They have one big leg.
They're very cute. I like them.
And you run into these two guys, the NPCs from the savannah, and one of them basically has PTSD from being stomped on at some point in his life. And so you have to go retrieve some bacon weed and put it in a pot so that they can have some bacon weed pots in their house so he can be more
did
relaxed.
you just say bacon weed?
Bacon weed.
Yeah.
As in bacon that you grow in the ground.
Yeah. It's bacon
That's
weed. It smells just like bacon.
How much is your game and where is it available?
I think you'll find this available on GOG.com.
I don't know why,
Bacon
for some
weed.
reason, I'm immediately interested in your product now.
There's also there is a boss related to the bacon weed,
Really?
which I would highly recommend. I'm not going to spoil it because it's one of the more ridiculous storylines. But yeah,
Yikes.
so yeah, there's about 50,000 words of story in the whole game. So it's a novel, I guess, a small novel length, and yeah, it takes a good long while to burn through.
So
Bacon.
I
I'm still
really
stuck
wonder
on
because
growable bacon.
I'm still stuck on the bacon weed. Sorry.
I'm
It's
wondering
amazing.
because this game, as I was telling at the very beginning, this game was such a shock for me after release. It's so cool and it got so overlooked in general. And I wonder what was the initial reaction you got from the people and how much of a shock it was to you guys.
Yes. So it's the individual reactions we've gotten have been pretty much people blown away across the board, I think. Both knowing that the game was produced by 3 people and it's 40 to 60 hours long is a weird thing. And then just the level of polish on the gameplay. Like the individual people who we've talked to have written in. We've gotten I can't tell you how many direct notes we've gotten from people where they're like, I haven't had this sense of sort of joyful awe since I played like the original Zelda back in the day or something like that. Like their first time booting up one of those big games, right? And you're like, whoa,
Aww.
as a dev, you're like, oh my God, oh my heart. I can't.
Oh, the feels. Oh.
Yeah. So from an individual standpoint, that's been great. And then the interesting difference between the two markets of mobile and PC has been really curious for us too, because like we did the simultaneous launch, and the mobile response was very similar to that individual one, which is most people again don't expect anything but basically garbage on mobile, and so they got this thing and they're like, "What the hell? This is amazing!" So it was that, and then on PC it was like we managed to get some good featuring from Steam during our week of launch, but it was actually really interestingly difficult to get reviewer coverage for it and stuff. I mean, PC Gamer covered it, but most other sites, the big sites, didn't really pay attention too much. And I mean, that's largely, we're actually still very much an unknown dev on PC, truth be told. All of our other titles are mobile.
I think people really living out this separation between PC and mobile. For me, as somebody who comes from the Commodore 64, it really feels outdated.
Yeah.
One of the first streams I did for GOG was for Oceanhorn, which is also a mobile game, and it's just an awesome game, and I don't care which platform it comes from because it is fun. And so I don't get this like rejection people sometimes feel towards mobile games. If it's a good game, it's a good game. End of story.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Samuel mentioned a little bit.
Mobile games.
Samuel mentioned it a little bit earlier when he's saying that people on mobile devices generally expect garbage. So that's kind of why mobile games on the PC are all, you always get the kind of, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
But there are a good amount of mobile games that have come over to PC that are actually really dang good. Even if they do still carry that sort of mobile visual style that Crashlands has, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, that's been another interesting thing for us. So just from an art standpoint, so like I said, it's just the three of us, or it was just the three of us working on this particular project, and my other brother Seth did all the game programming. And the truth is, both of us essentially learned how to do what we do now for games over the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
I did not have any art training before we made our first terrible game, Tau Fight: The Monocle of Destiny, which is free on mobile if you want to check it out.
That sounds like an amazing game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You shoot animals out of your face. That's all I got to say.
Right. You guys carry on. What's it called again?
Tau Fight 2: The Monocle of Destiny. Yeah. So that was the first big game that we made. It's basically like Zelda. It's like a Zelda / Binding of Isaac sort of game, and it's ugly. I mean, frankly, I'm gonna be honest, but it's the sort of thing like it's the best we could do at the time, And the truth is, like with the Crashlands art stuff, the reason we started on mobile as a studio is because we knew the bar was lower, right? I mean, it's harder to get into the PC crowd without really, really polished everything, and so we were excited to bring Crashlands to it to be our first one there, and it's cool to know sort of. We got plenty of room to grow when we look at sort of the launch power that you see from other games like No Man's Sky, for example, which made $1 billion, or any of the other standout indies.
God.
Yeah, right. Any other of the standout indies like Stardew Valley or anything like that. Stardew Valley, which by the way, we were looking at it, we're like, they should have launched on mobile simultaneously. This game is perfect for mobile.
That's true.
Yeah, so we try not to take a very hard line stance between the two platforms because I think people love playing games on every device that they have, and as long as you can make it work really well between the two, then it's kind of whatever.
But I believe
wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Can I just pause there in just 1 second? I'm literally, people on stream can see this. I'm literally looking on my phone, looking at Tau Fight 2: The Monocle of Destiny. And literally,
yes, I googled it as well.
The only thing it says is shoot animals out of your face and defeat a god. That's it. That's the synopsis.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
There's this game design technique that you have to, when you are creating a new game idea, like it's the first thing that everyone will teach you. You have to just put your game idea in one sentence, in very short one sentence, and make it sound like people would like to buy it. Yeah. And this is what those guys did. It's exactly that.
I think our second title is called Quadrupus Rampage. And
you guys are the best at naming things, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we do what we can, our punchline for that one was be a quadrupus, go on a rampage, which I think everyone was just so confused by. They're like, what is this? What do you mean? Yeah, we don't necessarily make the best business decisions, but we do have a lot. So that's what's
Can I officially hire you to name everything I do?
Yeah,
As just this
absolutely.
wacky. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's so great. I can't. I hope Crashlands sells really well so we can get a Towel Fight 3 and a Port of Quadrupus Rampage.
We got a couple of other fun things in the works that we've been working on right now, and yeah, the names for things are just what we do, just weird stuff.
I have to tell you guys my idea for a game, because I was like, my friend was teaching me one like simple game engine that we were just trying to do on the game jam together, and I was just testing out a simple platformer where I just made a sprite of a deer. And I wanted the deer to shoot lasers from its mouth, but I actually missed out the angles in the script, so it actually shoot it from his butt, and we called it Total Deer. So yeah, I really want to make it with you guys one day. I will teach it to you.
Amazing. Yeah, I think whenever you accidentally have a bug like that, it becomes a feature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you wonder, go ahead.
Do you have any of those bug features in Crashlands?
It is, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's plenty. I don't know if I can think of it on the top of my head, but a good example is there's this creature called the Vama. It's the first creature in the bog. It's like this big, fat, pink frog-looking thing, and to attack you, it vomits out tadpoles.
Okay.
So like it shoots its babies out of its mouth like a sort of a rapid-fire mortar system. And they're explosive, of course, as they would be.
Obviously.
But we had this interesting bug happened, which I think we left bugged because of how hilarious it was, where if you paused when the Vama started attacking, then it froze time, because that's what pausing does, right? Freezes time. But for some reason, the pause wasn't actually bound to the Vama's attack. And so it would just keep on vomiting tadpoles that would just sit right outside of its mouth. And so once you unpause the game, then essentially Armageddon would rain down upon you because like 1,000 tadpoles came down and exploded on you. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of those that we end up keeping around, and a lot of stuff that ends up actually completely affecting core gameplay, which is probably why I can't think of it. But things that you accidentally see that you get programmed wrong, and then they're either just too funny or actually perfect for the game. It's like shooting lasers out of the butt of a reindeer or out of the butt of a deer. Sounds great.
That's very, very traditional. In Ultima Underworld 1, they at one point had a really, really bad graphics bug, where the stream went all kind of weird colors and went distorted, and they were like, we keep that in the game. That is what happens if you eat mushrooms. And it's still in there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's fun. You can discover some really cool stuff by not caring so much about the perfection of your vision.
By not wanting a completely perfect game, if you want those little sort of imperfections and little cracks here and there, it improves the character of the game, really, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Right, so we've got some more questions, if we're okay going through these. Sharian Reddick asks, will other Butterscotch games end up on GOG?
Ooh. So we've been thinking about it. So the other problem is that some of our most of our previous games have been free titles on mobile, and that's an interesting jump, right? To go from a free game on mobile to a paid game on PC, which is what we would do. So it's weird because everybody gets angry about it, as well as enjoys it. So because they're
like, you've lost your way.
Yeah, they're like, you maybe pay $3 for this when it's free
How
on
dare
mobile.
you?
Like,
yeah,
that's because the mobile market is completely price suppressed. It's not our fault. But you can't explain that.
What a couple people have done with their old projects is you just kind of like bundle them all together, throw the soundtrack in there, put a price in it, and there you go.
Yeah, we actually talked about that doing kind of like
Definitive
a basement collection.
Edition.
Yeah, one of those. But I think most of our old games will probably stay where they are. I think Quadrupus would probably be the only one that we would consider jumping over to PC. But next titles, all of our titles from here on out, we keep an eye on the ability to actually redesign them better up front to be able to play on both platforms without a problem.
Cool. We also have questions. Sorry, for the audio and the listeners, this is going to mean nothing, but I'm just watching Outstar try and fend off her cat on video.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what you're doing.
That is a beautiful cat.
Thank you so much. It's very fat and big.
Her cat has turned her computer off before, so
She actually
Yes.
did,
Yeah.
On stream.
yeah, she actually did this during this podcast. I have like
Ow.
a bloody wounds on my hands now. So yeah.
Oh man. Let's have a quick look here. So Pyrofox asks, question that Outstar will probably steal. What's next for you guys? Crashlands content updates or Crashlands 2 or something else?
Yeah, I think we'll hold off on sequels for a bit. I think the game's certainly done well enough to deserve one, but I think you work on a project for 2 years, one project, and it's important to note that our previous two projects, both Talfight and Quadrupus, took 49 days to make, and Flop Rocket, which is another one, more recent one.
Flop Rocket.
It's also good. But
Is that available on mobile as well? Let me just get my phone
it
out.
is. It is on mobile.
Tell I've
Flop
got a
Rocket.
phone recently.
I gotta do
Richard.
my mic.
One sentence speech, please.
Flop Rocket will make you break your phone. You control a uncontrollable rocket and try to exit out of a cave, out of a space cave.
Oh, I
because,
see.
Yeah, the story is your
Pilot
NASA.
the floppiest rocket ever made through the deadliest cave in the universe.
Yeah, so your real estate's really expensive in the future. So the best place for the space program to set up shop was actually the inside of a 5-kilometer wide cave. So you have to get the rocket out of the cave, to go do missions with it. But that's the first step. So that's what we built there. But that one is actually
one of my favorite developments.
It looks like R-Type had too much to drink, to be perfectly honest.
we have a lot of fun, But that one took like 14 days to build.
Install.
So when you're looking at those games, and then you look at something like Crashlands for us, which is a 2-year project,
It's a bit of a change,
it's a big change. We don't want to make another enormous game right now, honestly. We kind of had enough of that, I think, for the last while. And then the last 7 months has been actually just working on continuous Crashlands updates. Not so much on the content side, but just getting stuff fixed, expanding platforms, other stuff. And so, yeah, I think all of us, our next sort of move, we're not exactly sure what it's going to be yet. But we're looking at making a few smaller titles before we jump in and make another enormous one.
That makes total sense. Makes total sense. Well, just as a suggestion, you should probably, just to break tradition, like Crashlands 2, you should make it a super realistic, gritty, like survival sim. Like
3D.
So far, totally 3D, VR only. Just like you have to just survive by just eating one certain type of berry that you have to find under the rocks that you have to pick up using specific controllers, that sort of thing.
We'll do that thing where,
hardware.
Yeah, if you die in the game, then you die in real life. That's it.
No.
Yeah.
You only get one life.
Explodes in your face.
You only get one life. That's it. It is ultimate permadeath. You get one life, and that's it. You can't even buy another life.
Yeah.
I'm available at a very reasonable consultancy fee. Don't worry about it. Right, what other questions we got? We've had quite a few, to be perfectly honest with you. Someone asking where the heck the potted bacon weed recipe is. Just a hint, if possible. I don't know if that's something you can reveal or if it's something that's random.
I can't. Go southwest of your ship. So the way the world works, just so you guys know, everybody's world is procedurally generated differently, right? So you have a different world, but all of the outposts, so all of the buildings and where the NPCs are and how they're placed and stuff, are handmade, and those are put in the world usually within a small range of a spot. So for the potted bacon weed in particular, this is actually the quest line I was talking about earlier. If you go southeast of your ship, sort of between where your ship crashes and a place called Power Pole, which you've probably already found. Power Pole. And there's a little island, or sort of peninsula island meadow thing with 2 Tendrom characters on it, and you got to do some good work for them, and they'll give you the recipe.
Cool. There you go. I genuinely didn't think you'd be able to answer that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
What else have we got? Desroyne asks, if this hasn't already been asked, could you please ask the developer 2 questions? Why did you make one of the best games of 2016, and why did you make this game by basically turning it into one big dank meme?
Why did we make the best game of 2016? I don't. It was like a Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's
to you, to me it was a Tuesday.
I'm going to make the best game, period. I'm just going to do that. That's what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I had like a very, one of those weird sort of future viewing moments back in 2013, and I was like, I want to make the best game of 2016. That's what I want to do. So, yeah, we did it. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Back up.
You're just missing for like a number of days, and you come in all haggard and stuff, like
Bit on
just
a
falling
spirit
through some
joke.
sort of like just falling through a time warp, and you're like, I've had an amazing vision. We have to make a game.
Absolutely.
And there's of course this one Bob in your team who was like, nah, I guess let's not do the best game of 2016. You were like, no, let's do it. No, we're too lazy. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be one of the brothers. I can't say which one, of course. One of the other two.
We all know. Don't worry about it. We all
know.
Everyone's just sure that it's not you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't possibly.
Couldn't possibly be you. Raging Mayo asks, does the game have different classes and playstyles? I don't know if there's only one character or if there's different characters. Obviously, I've not played it.
Raging Mayo.
Raging Mayo.
So
that's the name of her next game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was. So the game has what we would consider essentially a weak class system. So you have the same. You don't pick a different character or anything like that. You play as the main character of the game, but depending on how you outfit your character, you can essentially specialize a bit. It's primarily melee combat driven, but if you wanted to, you can stack up on gadgets that like enhance your bombs and enhance certain damage types that you do, and then sort of become a bombardier in a sense, or try to poison people to death all the time with various things. So you can, it's sort of a weak class system, I guess is the easy way to think about it.
And there's actually a pretty interesting system of randomly crafted items. I mean, you craft a specific item, but the quality of this item and the actual perks that this item has are generated randomly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just random roll when you craft anything. So you can actually get anything from a normal, acceptable, I think is the word we use, acceptable sawgrass sword, for example. I think like flames or thunder thighs or toxicity or all sorts of stuff. And then you can go all the way up to epic level ones just from rolling the dice. There's also legendary stuff that you can find and build that is guaranteed to be legendary, which is cool.
Yeah, so for example, if you have a lot of sawgrass, you can make blades. For example, your first blade will be normal, but then the next one will be epic, and the next one will be legendary. So you just have to try.
Yeah,
and you can roll like pretty good stuff in there.
Cool. So there's I'm interested to know, is it similarly along? Oh goodness me! Oh, I'm so good at languages. Oh. Is the equipment system along the lines of Diablo, where you have different tiers of equipment? In different
tiers,
sets?
as in so there's
like
no
rarity and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's no sets.
Okay.
The rarity does determine how many additional stats it has. So
okay.
Normal weapons have one additional stat, so like maybe you'll get some electricity damage or something. And then as you add a higher rarity to it, then it adds more and more of those chances on there. There's no set bonuses or socketing. Those were things we looked at, but then couldn't quite figure out how to get done before launching in a reasonable time frame. So those are not present, but there are unique sets for each tier of the game, if that makes sense. So you have like your wood armor is what you start with, and then by the end of the game you're in this sweet blue metal sort of Iron Man like suit. So
nice. Is that the sort of thing you'd want to implement later on down the line? Are you looking to implement more stuff as the life cycle of the game goes on?
Yeah, I think we're trying to figure that out, honestly. Partially because, like I said, we've been still working on it just from a sort of maintenance standpoint. We did release a quality of life patch that included some other cool items. For example, the pot slapper and the pot slapper beamer, which allows you to automate the slapping of your pots.
I was going to say, you're going to need to go into a bit of detail here.
Man, you guys just are the greatest at making stuff. I mean, that's genius right there.
Yeah,
that's late night as seen on TV levels of genius. I
mean, yeah, that's where we live, man. It's like that's our bread and butter. So we did do that
Butterscotch.
content update. Yeah.
Oh.
We did do that content update, and that went over really well. But I think it's one of those things where you got to make the decision about moving forward with some new projects and new IP potentially versus pumping on something that's been out for a while. So.
Actually, about doing great things, I want to sell you another idea for a game. Tameable Nebula on the chat just wrote an idea for the Raging Mayo game. So, give as many people food poisoning as possible to take revenge against a world which you hate but loves you. It's a great idea. Do it.
It's very good. Raging Mayo is inspiring devs everywhere, and probably small children too.
I do have to say though about Butterscotch's shenanigans is, I mean, there are some games out there that when you try to Google them, their names are so basic you'll never find them, like Legendary or anything like that. Those kind of basic things. But I have not had a single problem trying to find any of your games on Google.
Yeah, so, I think one of my
weirdly enough. Yeah, they were the first results I looked for when I was looking for Flop Rocket was the game. So, I was quite surprised at that.
Yeah, we're approaching first page Google search results status just for the word Butterscotch, I think. I think we're getting close. So
Nice.
That's the goal, is to have that. But we have some other goofy games that we made for game jams. One of which is called
I love those sort of games.
Shep Hard, which is an extreme shepherding game. There's a YouTube video of that if you want to watch it. It's actually crazy fun.
Right, open a tab. Have a look afterwards.
That one's crazy good. We made another one called Do You Even Lift, which is an elevator simulator.
Of course you
play
did.
as the elevator. Yeah. So we're good for that chuckle. That's our currency.
Yeah. Okay, so last couple of questions now.
Sure.
Edgy Koala asks, I actually have a question, like how much do the games change from the original vision? And do you just kind of roll with serendipity?
Yeah, we're very much in the rolling with serendipity camp, I think. We sort of got our start doing game jams. And like I said, we've only been doing this for about 4 years now. So all of our focus is on iteration. So we'll start with an idea like this deer can shoot lasers out of its butt, and then just start adding on mechanics and new systems and other ways to manipulate that particular mechanic until you have this big full-fledged game. So it's very much a sort of rolling mechanism. Crashlands was interesting because it was the first one of our games that's commercially available that didn't come from a game jam. Yeah. And I don't mean to drop a morbid bomb on everybody here, but the reason we actually started making the game back in 2013, I got diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, so cancer, in October that year. Yeah, and so at the time we were working on some endless runner for mobile, which if you want to Google what will make your soul scream out of your body, I'm pretty sure that pops up. Making one of those. So we were in the middle of making this game, got this cancer diagnosis handed down, and was just like, not really what I want to be doing for potentially the last bit of time. So so me and my brother sat down and I actually made this prototype for the game that was literally a Roomba that was picking up leaves, and when it picked up 10 leaves, they turned into sandals. And then it was wearing sandals for some reason. And I showed it to Seth the next morning, and I was like, and I pitched him this idea for just making this big open world game, which ended up turning into Crashlands. And he somehow, for some reason, signed up. I think it was probably the guilt of cancer brother asking you to do something. I don't think you could turn it down. So yeah, that's how the whole thing started, which is very different from most of our other titles, right? It took 2 years to make, and I'm fine. I'm healthy. I'm good. It took 2 years.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So good to hear.
Yeah, the title means a lot in a lot of different ways, both I think for us and some other people who know the story. So.
You made tons of people incredibly happy with your game, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like I said, that's what keeps us alive at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of that recently. I've seen a fair number of games that have come out through tragic circumstances. Either someone has just had this idea, they've had bad news like yourself, and they've had this idea for this game and they've made it, or they've made it in memory to somebody else. And it's always, I don't know, you play a game and it's either different, or it's either really different and really catches you, or it's really good and really enjoyable. And to find out afterwards that it's got this very core emotional string to it, I don't know, it makes it a little bit more special to me, to be perfectly honest. And it's just, I don't know, it just, that's
I mean, so someone was asking about it. They were like, did you put, was the creation of this game in any way a response to that? And we're like, well, yeah, 100%. I mean, you're going through the darkest stuff you can imagine. And the goal with the game, actually, at the end of the day, was to be able to turn around and give people something that they could essentially escape into for a very long period of time, when their life is going to shit or whatever else. So it certainly does that. There's also, spoiler, does. There is a tumor boss in the second biome of the game. So you can go and just murder the shit out of it. And I think that's the appropriate thing to do. So just so you know.
Yeah,
side quest.
Absolutely. It's really cool. I really like that. And obviously, extremely pleased to hear that you're all healthy now.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
it's amazing, bro. Like, it's. I'm so happy to hear that, because we can't wait for the next games. And speaking of which, I really hope that your next games will be on GOG too, so we can cover them and play them. That's great.
If we go PC on anything, we'll be on GOG on day one.
Oh yes. Fantastic stuff. Right. We do have one more very quick question from our very own Memories of 8-Bit, who says, totally not a selfish question, is Butterscotch Shenanigans looking for any QA guys or Linux porters? He says, being a previous QA guy and a Linux porter.
See,
I told you, Chris. I told you I'd ask.
So we're not looking for anybody right now, but we do have a jobs page now, because apparently we have employees now. So we do have a jobs page. So if you ever want to be clued in as to when we're hiring, we do offer, frankly, the best job on the planet, which is working with Butterscotch. So keep an eye out on there. You can put your email on there, I think, and get notified whenever we have jobs posted.
So let's say, absolutely out of the blue, of course, and not very connected to us, if someone would send you a prototype of a game with a deer shooting, pooping lasers, would you consider?
I would probably just steal the prototype and then, make a free-to-play mobile game with timers in it and just go. Just pull a full EA on everybody and then laugh to a mansion in the hills. That'd be the strategy.
As you do.
As you do.
You're just like, you're driving off with sackfuls of money and it's like, gotcha, see you later.
Yeah, that's probably what happened with the Stardew Valley developer. It's like, you guys are saying they should do a game on the mobile. Like, why? He's on the yacht already, just, with all the drinks.
Yeah, right. He's in the hills somewhere. No one's talked to him for weeks.
Yeah.
He bought this super dark horror mansion.
Super spooky mansion on a hill. No one's seen him since.
Yeah. And living like a Scrooge McDuck.
Okay, so I pretty much, I'm aware we've gone kind of over time with the developer section of it, but to be perfectly honest, it's been a really, really good interview, so I'm really pleased that you sort of stuck around for it. I don't think anybody here is going to turn around and say that it wasn't an entertaining interview. We didn't get any information out of you, and also the amount of puns and just humorous names for things that have been flown around the show today has been absolutely off the scale. So yeah, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
You told me earlier on that you will be at PAX West for the first week in September. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we'll be out in Seattle, doing our first ever, player-facing booth thing. So we're probably all going to get, a terrible virus, which I hear a con plague is pretty much what you get when you go to a con.
It's fucking awful. It's the worst thing in the world.
Everybody's apparently just covered in viruses. So look forward to that. Come spread your diseases to us.
Come spread your diseases on us. Yeah. Come lick our faces. That's what you need to do.
Make sure you ask first, of course. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to plug your podcast as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So yeah, we do have a weekly podcast we do of our own where we just talk about what's going on at the studio and then sort of just, shoot the breeze with one another and answer community questions and that sort of thing. So if you, I guess, are interested in dev or indie games and that sort of scene, then it's a good punny, ridiculous time as well.
The Puncast.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And it's called, I'm correct, it's called Coffee with Butterscotch.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. Coffee with butterscotch. Thank you.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. Well, yeah.
That actually
I
sounds
personally,
really tasty.
it does, doesn't it?
We tried it last week and it is delicious. We found out. Yeah,
Is it?
it's great.
Would it make you reconsider like your naming convention for the podcast if you tried it and all of you were like, I don't really like coffee with butterscotch?
Like black licorice with coffee. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, gross.
All right, cool. I don't know if anybody else on the stream has any questions for you, Samuel. I'm out of questions, I believe. So
I just have one request.
yeah, go for it.
More fertile dirt. That's all.
More fertile
More.
dirt. More fertile dirt. More fertile dirt. More
People have
fertile
been
dirt.
heard.
I don't even know what it is. I want more of it.
It's just the
Well,
fertile dirt.
Well,
Nothing
thanks
else.
so much for having me on here. I appreciate it.
No, really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You've been an absolutely outstanding guest. Obviously, we wish you the best of luck with Crashlands and Flop Rocket and also the Monocle of Destiny, which, I've just downloaded those two, so your phone's probably going to buzz in a few minutes. If you're welcome back onto the podcast at any point. If any games come to GOG, just hit us up and we'll get you on and we'll start talking about more Fertile Dirt and Fertile Dirt 2, Fertile
Sounds
Dirter.
great. Fertile Dirter. That's great.
I hate this
All right,
so much.
cool.
Flop Rocket sounds so much like an innuendo every time I hear it. It's
That's my new favourite term. Hey, want to see
Someone
my
once-
Flop Rocket?
Someone once said that the writing that they read in our games feels dirty, but isn't, and they don't know how to feel about it.
That's the
Yeah.
best
I'll
way to
leave you
do
with
it.
that.
It's like,
That's what
I
you do it.
feel
Way to
really
do
uncomfortable, but I don't know why.
I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much
Yep.
for having me. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah,
Thank you, Samuel.
absolutely
It was
wonderful.
great.
Thanks so much for joining us. Cheers. Okay, cool. I just need to
That was a really nice
make
guy.
some changes on the stream now.
Okay, guys.
Yeah,
now
he was really
let's
cool.
Can we just get out of this place right now and all write CVs and send them to them and just work there? Just get out of this place, guys. We all want to work there. We all know
I can only do a couple of things well, and one of them's talking on a podcast. So I'm not quite sure unless they want a new host for their
Hey, dude,
coffee
they
with
have a
Butterscotch.
They have a podcast. Hello.
I could be the non-developer host for their podcast. I could do all the
There
background
you
work.
go.
My camera moved, and it's not my fault this time.
No. That always happens. Don't worry about it. There you go. You're sorted now. I need to take everyone's camera into consideration again. Once again, the means absolutely nothing for the audio only listeners. It's just the video people. There we go. We're all sorted now. So Crashlands looks really cool. I can't believe I've not played it. I'm literally like seconds away. It's currently £4.22 on mobile, but I don't really have £4.22 spare, so I'm going to wait until one of my paydays, and I'm going to get this.
This
But
guy's
yeah, I'm
streaming
going to be.
here on GOG.com.
Well,
I
actually,
can-
someone did turn around and say now we need Mike to go through the entire Butterscotch Shenanigans back catalogue on mobile and stream them somewhere.
I just have to say that, really, for those of peeps in the chat who didn't buy No Man's Sky, because you guys are just, thinking that's a good idea and you're waiting for some patches, if you have some more money left, just really invest in Crashlands, because you will be equally happy. I really feel like those games can be comparable, and actually not really comparable, because Crashlands is the just endless amount of fun, the story and everything, and it's really, really great, and it's overlooked by people. So I cannot recommend this game enough.
Of No Man's Sky. That was a lovely segue you just did, Outstar, because No Man's Sky
Well.
is now out on GOG.com.
That's
Oh,
true.
God.
That's true. Are we going to release this now, Mike? Mike, you have to tell us. Are we doing this? Are we talking
Yeah, I think so. Well, we can't ignore No Man's Sky, can we? To be perfectly honest, and I think that's it's pretty important that we talk about the releases on GOG this week. Now, Outstar is holding a hand up. Why are you holding your hand up?
Because I have an idea for the No Man's Sky talk. I think the person, because none of us actually played this game so far.
Played it.
You
I
okay?
did.
Played it.
Okay. I'm not talking.
And I watched far too many streams of it because I'm definitely and endlessly fascinated by this game. So I watched like streams in 3 languages of No Man's Sky.
So I was actually going to suggest that Paranjit should talk about it because she saw she saw so many experiences of this game so far, and she was always bumping on a Skype and telling us how different those experiences are. And I believe that this is actually something fascinating about this game, how people are totally differently approaching it, right?
Yeah, it's what should I say? I actually saw the Kickstarter of No Man's Sky back then, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know, and I'm really cautious when it comes to Kickstarter, so I decided to not back it. And then
Wait,
well, the game
No Man's
came out.
Sky had a Kickstarter?
I think it had, didn't it?
No, I don't think
No?
so. It was published
Was
by
that-
Sony.
Yeah, I
It
don't
was
think so.
but was it? Anyway, years back, I somehow heard about No Man's Sky, and then I forgot about it again. And I think that was where I was actually really lucky because I had no expectation of this game. I didn't know what the devs said. I was just like, whoa, space game! And that's how I approached it in the end. And so I watched many streams. I watched Memories in 8-Bit play it. I watched... Who else did I watch? I was like... I didn't sleep much that night the game came out, actually, because I watched so many people play it on the GOG channel and everywhere else. And although I know that people who followed the development are kind of disappointed or angry, it couldn't happen to me because I had no expectations. And so I'm totally amazed by the game. I see people who like go on planets and just walk around and enjoy the scenery and the day and night cycle and the weather things and look at this animal, look at this flower, and just enjoy every new experience they see. I saw people who were like, I need to explore every last centimeter of this planet, and I need to go into every hole that there is, and I'm going to walk through this cave for the next 3 hours because I want to see it all. I saw people who were only into trading and more or less only were trading, collecting stuff, trading again. I saw other people like, I'm going to race to the center of the galaxy right now, and I'm going to the next Atlas station, and I saw somebody like, I will just destroy everything, and they did, and it was just for me, like, I saw all these different personalities play the game in their own way on all those different planets, and for me it was totally enjoyable as a viewer. So yeah, that was No Man's Sky for me. Just I don't have the game. I can say that I don't have it. I haven't played it, but I still like to watch it, and that's what I can say about it.
Yeah, cool. I've not played it myself, but I need it to come down a little bit in price, if that makes sense. I know I'm gonna be spending a lot of time on it, but I think it's something like on PlayStation it's still like £50, which is an awful lot of money for a game. I mean, I know it is a big game, but I don't know. I'm always a little bit tentative about paying full price for games, if that makes sense. But I know, going on from what you just said, Piranjit, I actually know somebody I work with. I know 3 or 4 people who are playing No Man's Sky, but they're playing it in completely different ways. So, like, one guy is just trying to get to the center of the universe. One guy is just trying to fly around and blow the crap out of stuff. And I've got one guy who basically describes himself as playing as a pacifist merchant. And he's just wondering. He was on the first planet, because you start off and you're on a planet and then you start the game proper. Well, so I understand. And he was on the first planet for 20 hours, just on the one planet. He wanted to explore everything around him, so he started walking in like spirals away from his ship, and every time he hit a cave, he'd go into the cave and explore it completely. And then he wanted to know, if I face west and carry on walking, will I eventually come back to my ship? That sort of thing. So he just kept walking at one point, and he walked for like 3 hours and didn't stop. He didn't come back to his ship either. He didn't go like all the way around the planet, which is kind of understandable. But yeah, it's crazy. Not crazy. It's nice that people are playing it in such different ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw one guy who was pretty early in the game, and he landed on a very, very toxic planet, and he was like, well, this is a toxic planet. This is not so bad. And then it started to rain it, he nearly died. And it was just stuff like that. Or I saw somebody else who landed on a planet which had a kind of lakes which seemed to be formed by meteors, so they were pretty round and had rough edges and cliffs, and there were like huge sharks swimming in those lakes. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. But that guy was totally into just trading and ignored the great sharks. And I was like, look at those guy, look at the sharks. And he was like, I still need some thallium then. And I was like, look at the sharks. And didn't. And it's just, yeah.
That's one of the things about No Man's Sky has got a lot of cool moments every now and then, but those cool moments are generally broken up by a lot of downtime. I've put about 4 hours in the game so far. I've spent my entire time, I'm still on the first planet, which is a snow planet, so I got to worry about freezing to death. I haven't died yet in 4 hours, which is surprising, because I always die in games. But I've got 87% of the planet discovered at this point. I've named every single thing I've discovered, Mega Pie-Man PhD. All the animals, all of the planets, all of the waypoints, the planet, the solar system, all of it. So if anybody tries to just figure out anything, they'll have no idea what's going on if they ever find this planet. So that's fun. But about 4 hours, I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of just really tired of discovering stuff, because there's so much stuff to discover that it ruins the really interesting stuff about discovering something, you know? It doesn't feel all that amazing when you've discovered a whole bunch of crap at a point. Because it's like, well, you can discover everything. It's like, this one thing over here is cool. This one thing over here is cool. All this other stuff in the middle, it's kind of okay. There's two plants that look exactly the same but are different colors, and apparently it means they're different. But it's got a lot of really cool moments. Although, one thing that I specifically don't like about it is the trading system. Because if you have a bunch of stuff in the inventory, the only ways to get rid of it is either dropping it or selling it. But I've been playing 4 hours, came across a trader once, and I have not been able to find another trader to sell stuff. And it's ridiculous, because it means I have to drop everything, which is really annoying.
If you're still on the first planet, you might want to consider moving on, because I promise you there's more to see than just what is on the first planet.
But I have to finish naming everything Mega Pie-Man PhD. You don't understand.
I totally understand that.
I
totally get that, because I was considering playing it until I saw that my poor old PC would most likely not be able to handle it, and I had already a list of how I wanted to name my planets, and I wanted to give them all the Latin names of penguin species. And I totally get that. I'm
too far in to stop now, you know?
Yes,
I heard somebody say that the game gets really good at about the 20-hour mark once you've unlocked a whole bunch of stuff, but that's the same thing as telling me that Final Fantasy 13 gets good at the 9-hour mark. If it's not, it's like that's too far away. I put about 2 to 3 hours in Final Fantasy 13. I'm like, I can see where this is going, but I'm not playing this for 9 hours to start getting interesting, you know?
I want to talk from my own perspective. It's actually a little bit interesting, because my experience with No Man's Sky is very bitter, but I'm not very salty about it. But why, I will tell in a second. The thing is, I am in this so-called 1% of people, which is not a big secret, that weren't even able to launch the game. I own the game on my PC, which has the minimal requirements which were told before the release. But my version of No Man's Sky, it just I am in the so-called 1%. Why I'm saying so-called? Because the developer actually tweeted that 99% of people in the release date can play the game without problems. There is a 1% of people who can't because of the AMD and Radeon usually, or I'm not really sure what is going on with that. But it's a hardware issue. Which was overlooked during the QA somehow. And it's not really 1%, it's a lot of people who are on Reddit, we are on Twitter, and people are trying to find a way. We're waiting for a fix. But I'm not very salty about it. I mean, my personal thought about No Man's Sky right now is that this is one of those games which were really hurt by PR. I believe like PR really hurt this game because they kind of the game had a very, very good premise, and this premise got so much advertised, and it was so nice when you heard about it that the developer was invited to public television. It rarely happens that the developer is actually invited to talk shows, you know. It's like, I know CD Projekt Red developers that made Witcher 3, which is the most amazing game of 2015 by most of the people's minds right now, but they were not really invited to that much of the public TV to talk about their game. Developer of No Man's Sky was, and he was able to, he was probably not prepared for that too. I don't want to like defend him that much, but I believe that as a person who didn't ever made an AAA huge game before, he probably overestimated what they could do. So they sometimes said things that, you know, didn't land in the game finally. So I believe that the game itself is really interesting, but for a very specific audience. Like what people were told before the release, or people like a crowd believed that this is a game for everyone because you can do everything in it, which is not true. It's a game for people who like exploring. I personally loved games like, how's the game called? No, those like little walking simulators where you could just walk through the map and see new stuff, and the stuff was just happening around you. And Proteus, for example, that was the game.
Yeah.
Proteus, a game where you just walked around the place and you just saw, oh, that's beautiful tree and it makes sounds. Wow. So I'm a person who likes those kind of games, but there are tons of people who absolutely detest them. They just don't want to have anything in common with them, right? So I believe No Man's Sky caused this huge rage after premiere, because now the reviews are actually going pretty much high up in comparison to what happened at the release date, because people were not really prepared for what they received, and the PR was unfortunately a little bit missed on that, because it was promising things that didn't happen, that couldn't happen, because the small studio couldn't just do that. They already did a lot, and it was just too ambitious of a project to really work out how people imagined it would be. So I'm still waiting to play it. I'm not really salty about the fact that every time I launch the game it crashes. I can't play it. I will play it when it will release, and I will for sure not review it now, because I don't believe that just the inability to launch the game at the release date is a reason to be absolutely negative about it till the end of the time. It is a salty feeling, but it happens.
That's not representative of the actual game, though, is it? That's more a technical hardware issue. I mean, they do say, I don't know the statistics. If they do say it's only 1% of people that are affected by this, that's still going to be a lot of people, but how far? I mean, I know that the studio was plagued by a lot of issues and a lot of financial problems as well during the making of No Man's Sky. And then I think what Pierre and Jade was talking about earlier about it going on Kickstarter, I think there were rumours of it going on Kickstarter before PlayStation snapped it up, or before Sony snapped it up.
Maybe it was that, because I remember I saw it, I think, in 2013.
Yeah,
I saw something about the game. But yeah, I just said I didn't follow up, and now it released. That's how it happened for me.
Yeah, well, I remember there was a show hosted by Jeff Keighley, notable video games journalist, and basically the story was he went to the Hello Games studio just to spy on them, essentially. Let's not mince words. And he wanted to know what they were working on, because there was rumors in the industry that they were working on something big. And this is, you got to remember, this is a studio that previous to No Man's Sky had only really pumped out Joe Danger. So they were working on something called Project Skyscraper, which was apparently going to change the face of gaming. And He sort of went there, saw what they were working on, and said, look, you can get a trailer together, we'll show it on the whatever talk show we're going to have, and you can be a special guest on it. So they did that, and that, I think that kind of helped build a lot of this hype and a lot of this, not misinformation, but there's a few bits and pieces in there that maybe there's a lot of assumed knowledge and assumed features by people that aren't available in the game. And I think, in all honesty, and I'm going to sound really, really cynical about this, the gaming industry has a really short memory. This is not the first time this has happened. This will not be the last time this has happened. It is either a case of the developers haven't been completely honest, which happens for whatever reason, or people don't do their research. People have an impression of a game, and by watching a single trailer at E3, and when they play that game and it doesn't meet that expectation, they get super bitter about it. And then they just go on social media and they just spew all over the place, and it's just the inevitable cycle. Every year, every couple of years, this happens with a big release, and it's just one of those things that it either changes or we just kind of accept it. But
Yeah,
I
I guess
get a same kind of a thing with like what was that game? That game that came out when Overwatch came out, that was by Gearbox. Battleborn. Yeah, you had a kind of a thing with that where everyone, with Overwatch, with everyone assuming, well, it's a MOBA, they're all MOBAs, and then they turn out not necessarily to be that. So there is a big thing where people kind of get an idea. And Battleborn has still not been able to recover from what everyone's original thought was, that it's a copy of Overwatch, that kind of a thing. So a lot of people, they get that stuck in their head as to they know what the game is, and when it's not immediately what they think that it is, they don't really care anymore. I think that for No Man's Sky, it works much better as an experiment than it does necessarily as a game, because what they did with it is really freaking impressive. But because they're trying to sell it as a game, it's not necessarily going over as well. If they would have done it, it's like Outstar mentioned Proteus before, and I think it works much better as the Proteus sort of thing. If you thought what you were getting, oh, well, this is going to be Proteus but bigger, I think that would have gone over a whole lot better, because that's kind of like what it is.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm not really salty at No Man's Sky, though, is I saw a lot of hate videos on the internet, which were compilations of the lies, that developers were saying, and the lies is, of course, a quote in there. And a lot of these things that were said are actually videos taken from those talk shows I talked about, and it's a person in a public TV, probably live. I don't even know, and the developer is asked questions like, is there a possibility that creatures will eat another creatures? And the developer is saying, yes, sure, why not? And it's like a pressure, I believe, for someone who doesn't have any experience or anything like that in making such huge of a game. It probably resulted in those kind of like answers in those public shows. This is just my idea. In comparison, what I'm really salty about, for example, are games like Watch Dogs, which are made by experienced companies who know how to make video games, and they blatantly promise you something that they are not going to achieve, and then they sell you a product that they still pretend that it's the same, but it's not really. So I'm way more salty about those kind of games than the No Man's Sky, personally.
Yeah.
Well, the thing to kind of remember about when they were making those comments about what the game would be, they were still making the game.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's a very good chance that everything that they said that they was going to be in the game, they tried to or actually wanted to be in the game, and they just weren't able to get that to where they wanted it to be in order to release it. So not necessarily that they lied about it, it's just the game wasn't finished. So it's difficult to talk about a product having this, and this when, the game's not finished. And that's the biggest thing with No Man's Sky. Everyone got all open arms about the thing when it wasn't done yet. So that's a little bit of a problem of people just making up their own ideas, a little bit of a problem of the developers not having the communication that necessarily needed.
Also, have you seen interviews with Sean Murray? Have you seen how passionate that dude is about what he's doing? I mean, this is the guy who sold his house, no word of a lie, to fund No Man's Sky. Basically, he sold his house in order to fund his game. And if he's that passionate about what he's doing, fair play to him. Absolutely, all the respect in the world to him. But he's bound to come out and do a Peter Molyneux. He's bound to do a Peter Molyneux and come out and say, yeah, we're going to have animals eating each other, and we're going to have multiplayer, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have that. But it's probably not going to be there.
Actually, there are animals and plants who eat each other, but they are rare, but they exist.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm just saying that. But I know that people criticize that, but it is in the game.
That's absolutely cool. I'll probably use that as a good example.
Yeah, but many people actually talk about that. Oh, they're told animals will be able to eat each other, and they do, and they also poop. And
but there was also
there was also another interview where he was asked, "Can you land on asteroids?" And he answered, and I'm quoting this verbatim, "Yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids." So that was at that moment, because at that moment development you apparently could land on asteroids. In the final version you can't, but he answered that correctly. He said, yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids. So I think there were a lot of changes, maybe also to have a stable version to get out on PlayStation, to be honest, because I don't think that's easy. And so maybe there were parts of the game that were actually making the game unstable in some way, and so maybe actually they had to cut things that were in the game during development process. I've heard stuff like that happens.
Well, the only real mistake they did was being really vague about their game and not actually giving the review copies, because that would really, I mean, that wouldn't help them really, but so that could be maybe understandable from the developer's perspective, but I think like giving out the review copies would really help at least the last of the PR that was in there, because no one received the PC version before the release. Even the biggest streamers, the biggest people out there in the industry, which usually happens for most of the AA games.
Yeah, I know the PS4 versions got sent out to quite a few people, but only like the really big sites. Like if you went on the list of like almost AAA Games Journo sites, then you didn't get anything. To be perfectly fair, it's a little bit. Bethesda do something weird like that as well. They only deal with certain people.
Yeah, but actually, I want to just quickly say about one thing, because Pyron Jade said at the beginning that she is really stoked with the game, as she didn't have any expectations for it, as she didn't heard what Dev said. I had the same thing with Starbound this week. I actually played it on stream here on GOG, and you know how big of an outrage this game apparently caused back in the days, because they made some decisions, that they just brought some stuff in the game and then they resigned of it, and they just put something else in it. And I played this game fresh without any of this prejudice, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And there are so many people hating on this game. Even in the GOG reviews, you can check it out, because some stuff was, erased from the previous versions. But I really enjoy it.
There's gonna be context behind it, and like I say, it's just one of those things that if it happens now, if it's a major feature, like if it comes out and it's let's say No Man's Sky came out and it looked like Doom, for example, or Doom 3, if it's a complete overhaul and completely against, or like Watch _Dogs, and it's almost completely different from what you originally saw to what you get at the final package, then I think people have a really strong case to be really pissed off about it. But otherwise, you kind of take this as part of the journey. This is kind of what happens. As long as you play the game and you enjoy the game, where's the harm?
Yeah, it's true.
That's what I'm hoping for.
A lot of people have said that it would have been better if the game would have been released in early access, and I would have to agree with that.
It sounds like it would have been beneficial. Yeah.
The biggest thing you can say about the game.
Yeah.
Well, there are,
playing it.
Maybe they just want to be different. There are tons of space games right now which are in the early access, and they are really, really interesting, and it's good to keep an eye on them. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I agree that will be a better option for the game for sure.
I think they were very, very set on what game they wanted to create, so I don't know if they wanted to have that level of feedback. I think they wanted their vision out there as soon as possible. If that makes sense.
They were kind of set on the game they wanted to make, but everybody else wasn't exactly set on the game they wanted to make. So they could have exactly made what they wanted to, but just we didn't know what they wanted to make. Anyway, considering that we're getting a little bit low on time here, I think we should maybe move on from No Man's Sky.
Absolutely. No
Ochlos.
Man's Sky. What? Bless you. What?
Ochlos. Ochlos released today.
Right.
It's a great game.
If you just keep saying that word, I still don't know what it means. Talk to me. Tell me about it.
Ochlos.
Ochlos.
Right.
It's a Greek word and it means mob.
Okay.
And in Ochlos you play a
I saw that in the
philosopher.
room.
and you play a philosopher, and that philosopher can have a mob, and you run around and you destroy things and you kill enemies and you just cause mayhem and destruction. And I'm going to stream it tomorrow as the release stream, and it's played with a controller, and you actually you steer your philosopher with the one stick and your mob with the other, and I'm totally incapable of doing that, which causes even more mayhem and destruction. And if you cause a lot of mayhem and destruction, your mob levels up, which causes the mob to be able to destroy more things and become an even more destructive mob. And I destroyed whole cities today without really knowing what I'm doing. I was like, death, destruction, and I will see what the game has to offer, because currently I'm a little bit uncontrolled in my destructiveness, and then we will see that on stream tomorrow.
Yes,
Cool.
Ochlos is chaos personified. I'm going to post a link in the chat right now. This is going to be a link to a video I did of the pre-alpha of Ochlos. Now, the reason why I'm posting this is because the developers of Ochlos, Coffee Powder Machine, they actually gave me an award of the best preview video, and they gave it to Make Up on My PhD. And I have the image that they sent me saved on my computer and in my heart. So if you guys want to see the best preview video, an award given by the developers, I made this video 2 years ago, so it's probably terrible compared to anything else I make, because I hate everything I make as soon as I make it. But
Hey, welcome to the
It'll give you an
creative
idea
world.
of the game.
Cool.
Ochlos was
I will
really cool.
definitely
I have one thing about Ochlos, which I want to actually quote, because I was following Total Biscuit's live tweeting about playing this game, and these are some gold tier tweets. Let me just tell you. Ochlos is a game I am playing where angry mobs of people take down religious entities. So basically Steam reviews for No Man's Sky. And the next one, the mob of Greek citizens appears to be screaming amongst various things the word wrecked, which I'm not 100% sure is historically accurate. That said, my historical knowledge of ancient Greece isn't really complete enough to dispute it. Also, why is it playing porn music when I go to the marketplace menu? And I'm recruiting cats for my angry mob with the power of philosophy. So it's great. I really like the game.
I recruited sheep and dogs today as well, and I exchanged slaves for other stuff, and then I felt bad about it. Yeah, I'm sure the game has many game mechanics that I have not really discovered yet. So far, I'm just running around destroying stuff, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and you can have warriors which are armed, but you can have also a lot of unarmed people. So there's going to be punching.
Hey.
I wonder if you can hire a whole bunch of sheep and recreate Sheep Hard from Butterscotch Shenanigans.
The thing is that sheep don't count to the amount of people you're allowed to have in your mob. So you can have more or less an unlimited amount of sheep if you can find them. Because I didn't have time to play that much, as I more or less only destroyed Delphi so far, accidentally, because I think I should only destroy the enemies, but 2 sticks, and yeah, it's so not enough sheep for a pure sheep mob, I would say.
That's what cheat codes are for.
Yeah. Just game-breaking features. I love it. Oh dear me. Right, what else has been released? I don't know. I have no information. I need to know what you people have played.
Pilot Brothers 1 and 2 were released.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Yeah, and 1, 2, and 3, I guess, or 2 and 3.
Pilot Brothers.
Yes, one was already on GOG.com. Pilot Brothers, if you're unaware with who the Pilot Brothers are, the Pilot Brothers are from a series of shorts by a company called Pilot, that was an animation company from Russia. They have a series of shorts with these 2 brother characters. One's named Chief, The other one's named Colleague. Between the two of them, they may have one brain. They are very, very short, which makes it a little bit odd to have to interact with something. And the really cool thing about the Pilot Brothers games is that people have said they're kind of like a series called Goblins, even though I've never played that series, in which you have to control both characters somewhat simultaneously in order to solve the puzzles that are put before you. The problem I have with these point-and-click adventure games is that they originally came out in the 90s. I think 97 was the second one. So they're somewhat obtuse, and because you have two different characters to worry about, one character will interact with an item differently than the other character will interact with an item. So it can sometimes be a big pain in the butt to try to figure out exactly what you have to do. The game doesn't do a fantastic job of telling you your overall goal. I like point-and-click adventure games that are like, okay, you figure out how to do this, and not just figure out what to do and then figure out how to do it. You know, I like to figure out how to do it, not figure out what to do. Pilot Brothers 2 was pretty good. It was pretty short. I got through the whole thing in the stream that I did for it on Tuesday. Pilot Brothers 3, on the other hand, is a bit of another monster. Its puzzles aren't as strong as the other two titles, and the versions that are on GOG.com are ports from the mobile versions by 1C Company and 1C Wireless of the original games that were for some computer or something like that. So there's no English voice acting for 2 and 3.
System.
But the weird thing about the third one is that the 1C Wireless added the ability to watch a video of the solution to your puzzles for 1, 2, and 3 when they made the mobile versions. But the third one, the solutions for some of the puzzles are wrong. They will not solve the puzzle in the solution video. There'll be multiple times where the characters are doing the wrong thing, long periods of nothing happening, and then they'll just stop. And it won't finish the video, and it won't show you the solution. So whoever was trying to solve the solutions for Pilot Brothers 3 didn't know how to play the game, apparently, because they couldn't figure out how to make the solution video. So I don't know how close to the end we got in that one, but thankfully I found a YouTube video that I was able to substitute in. The animation for the games is really good. The worst part about the games is just trying to figure out some of the solutions. But if you like old school point-and-click adventure games, definitely give them a shot. 1, 2, and 3 are all available for $5.99 each one of them. So that's not a bad price for them. I like them. I'm not a big fan of the third one, but the first two are pretty good.
Cool.
There you go.
Nice. What else have you played this week, man?
Today I did a stream, the second stream for Singularity, which came out on GOG.com yesterday. It's a first-person shooter by Raven Software. People say it's kind of a mediocre shooter. I like it a lot, though. It is kind of a Metro 2033 deal, except, in my opinion, better than that game. I'm not a big fan of Metro 2033 because of how linear it is and how much many escort missions there are. You don't have as much of that in... I know, I'm sorry. You don't have that as much in Singularity. It opens it up. It's sort of like a Metro meets BioShock kind of a deal, where you deal with going through two different timelines of modern time and past time on an island that used to be, it's like a Soviet laboratory on an island, and then there was an explosion, and time got all mixed up, and you're trying to set everything correct, and you saved a guy at the start of the game who turns out to the guy you saved him in the past at the start, and then when you go back to your time, he's taken over the world with Russia, so that was a bad thing to do. But it does some really cool stuff with using time things for taking an object, and you can advance it in age so it'll crumble. You can reverse in age so it'll come back together. You can do that with people, so you can make people dissolve because they just get so old they disappear, which is kind of interesting. And the shooting mechanics are pretty good. It's by Raven Software. Raven Software does a pretty good job when it comes to first-person shooters. The story is kind of eh. You can only take 2 weapons with you at one time, and none of them are super amazing at the moment. There was one time that I found a sniper rifle that let you control the bullet. I don't know how I did that, because I only did that once. But it's pretty cool. Singularity seems entirely linear. It is linear. That's true, Timble Nebula. It is a linear game, but it's opened up a bit more than a game like Metro, which felt like just all hallways. I find that Singularity to be a bit more open to that. I've liked it so far, so we'll see how it goes. And I've been playing through it on Thursdays, if you're interested in that, right here on twitch.tv/GOGCom.
Excellent.
Nice.
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
And the Bounty Train finally released, and I know that Darksaber 2K is totally happy about that.
Oh,
And
unbelievably happy.
And what I read about the game sounded really cool, like a Wild West steampunk faster than light thing, something like that. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, but he's going to stream the release stream tomorrow at 10 p.m. CEST, which is 8 p.m. UTC. I'm learning all the times now.
Nice.
Game in development.
Very cool.
And
is it in dev?
I don't know.
I think
okay.
it is.
I don't think so. Is
Bounty
it?
Train.
Weird. Bounty
Yeah.
Train.
Yes, it is in dev. It is in
It's
dev.
in dev.
Is it in
Okay.
dev?
Yeah.
And also there was today the announcement that Tahira Tales of the Astral Empire will release on the 31st of this month, and it will release for Windows, Linux, and Mac. So yeah, I'm interested in that game, but I also know it's a Linux game, and I'm totally supporting the amazing Linux show that Memories in 8-Bit is having on Saturdays now. And so we will see who will have the release. I don't know yet, and but it looks it's an RPG with tactical turn-based combat in a desert setting.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like Banner Saga.
Yeah, it does.
What is it? Oh, that's
Banner Saga was Banner Saga 2 was a lot of fun. The first one was pretty good too. So it'll be interesting to see how similar that is. It's got the same kind of art style and looks like the same kind of gameplay.
So for the different releases, we actually got, for those of you RTS fans, we have the new DLC for Ashes of Singularity called Oblivion. We also have 2 nostalgic games, Warwind and Warwind 2, Human Onslaught, which released just 8 hours ago. So
yeah, and GOG is actually the publisher for those games.
Yeah.
Those are all some of the old SSI games, if I remember correctly. And I saw
we are exclusive, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw the forum thread quickly, and people were like totally over the moon with these releases. So just finally my heart skipped, and now that's a release. Great job, GOG, and I'm about to cry. And wonderful releases. So I have no clue about these games, but apparently they make many people happy.
Yeah, there are actually Dizzy Plays it there says that they are like Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and the GOG page says that 2 classic fantasy RTSs bursting with gruesome battles and stealth shenanigans. So they are now
Butterscotch
available.
shenanigans.
That's
Shenanigans.
And also from the other things, we will have Everspace coming soon, and we are really stoked about it. We cannot wait for this. And Everspace is just amazing. It's intense roguelike space shooter, which looks absolutely amazing. It looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and also we had, of course, 8-Bit Hordes, which were covered by wonderful Memories in 8-Bit.
Indeed, as if it were going to be covered by anybody else.
8-Bit Hordes is a bit of an odd game because it's by Petroglyph. And it's basically 8-bit armies that they released earlier this year, but with a fantasy setting instead of a modern military setting. But when I heard about 8-bit Hordes, I was kind of surprised because before that I had heard that they were bringing like wizards and stuff to 8-bit armies. There was going to be a new faction in that. And they did eventually put a new faction for a Guardians faction, but then they went and released the wizards and whatnot as 8-bit Hordes. So I don't know if they're working on both games simultaneously, because supposedly there's going to be more factions released for 8-bit armies as time goes on. I don't know how many factions there are for 8-bit Hordes, or if 8-bit Hordes is supposed to be like an expansion, or if it's the only game that they're focusing on. So it's really weird that Petroglyph would do these games so close to each other. But I kind of makes sense because 8-bit Hordes looks like it's got the same kind of idea as 8-bit armies, it's got the same aesthetics. But it's just fantasy instead of modern military. So it's a bit of a weird thing, but it does look fun.
Awesome.
I was watching the was it Memories that was streaming it just before the GOGCast?
Yes.
I thought it. I think it was. Yeah, it did look fun. I must admit, it did look very, very entertaining. Right, what else have we had released this week? Does anybody know off the top of their head? Because I've been super prepared
I
and not.
think
I think that's everything.
all releases that actually.
Is it?
happened.
Wow.
Yes.
We're so.
There were just some more. No, it wasn't. Mother Russia Bleeds. Was this week or last week?
No, it's actually just the pre-order right now. So it doesn't
Yeah.
actually.
It was the pre-order.
And they also
remember seeing that on the
announced. And they also announced as coming soon Everspace, if I
Yes.
remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's fun.
outside something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, cool. So, I think that about wraps it up. We've covered the releases. We've had an incredibly charismatic host who's been talking about Crashlands. I'm now completely sold on Crashlands, and I now have the entire back catalogue of Butterscotch games on my phone, so that's me sorted for the rest of the week. I think that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Our
It's
stars.
important. So important. It's midnight in Europe right now, and it's the birthday of Memories 8-bit.
Yay!
Oh,
Happy
hey.
birthday!
Happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday, 8-bit. And yeah, guys, everyone who was listening to this podcast, come to GOGCom channel to check out streams by wonderful Memories 8-bit because he is amazing.
How old is he nowadays?
He totally is,
300
and-
years old?
25 again.
Mhm.
And
25 for the 5th time.
Yeah.
And I really would like to plug his GOG Linux show on Saturdays again, because if you're somehow curious about Linux, this is now finally your chance to see how it actually works and how amazing gaming on Linux could be. Because if you're like me and always think like Linux sounds like a good idea, but I'm so lazy, so that's your gateway now.
Yeah. It does sound like a very, very good idea. It's one of those things. I'm starting to use Linux more and more for work, and I'm seeing the benefits of using it as an operating system. But there is always that thought in the back of my mind that how do I actually sort of game on Linux? What sort of things should I look out for? So if you have any questions or any thoughts or fears about it, then yeah, as Pierre and Jade stated, that's definitely the sort of show you want to check out. Do we know what time it is on Saturday?
It's 6 p.m. CEST, so 4 p.m. UTC.
There you go. Pierre and Jade with her multi-time region knowledge, because I'm rubbish at time frames. I barely know what time it is in England, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that's about it. I think we're wrapping stuff up. Has anybody got anything else to add?
We're fine.
Cool. I'll take your silence as a no. Right, yeah. So don't forget, there's going to be a bit of a short break between this and the next stream. We have Pantsless Aaron streaming later on tonight, I believe. I can't remember what he's streaming. I'm sure it's going to be awesome though, because he normally does stream awesome games. He's normally one of the streamers it's going to sound really weird now. This is normally one of the streamers. I normally check out the stream on my phone after the GOGCast, so I normally end up watching Chrono Wolf, who normally streams after the podcast, and then Pantsless Aaron, and I normally fall asleep to Pantsless Aaron streams. Not as a deterrent to watch his streams, not that they put me to sleep or anything like that, but he's got a very soothing way of playing and a very soothing voice. So yeah, check that out. Now I feel really weird for saying that, to be perfectly fair with you. So that's about it. We shall all see you at the same time next week. I'm going to go feel real awkward now.
Yeah, being lulled into sleep by a pantsless guy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He sends me to sleep. It's not an insult. It's definitely a compliment. Right. Don't forget to check out GOGCom on all the social media links, and also check out, or if you don't already follow, twitch.tv/GOGCom. Please consider doing so, because we have a huge team of streamers now who stream all hours of the day and night. All of them are really awesome, and you should definitely check each of them out individually by typing the !host command when you're watching the ones you like, or even the ones you don't like, or all of them, or any of them. Anyway, follow us! Follow us! Right, we're out. We'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody!
Woo! Podcast! Yay!